Test, test, test.
I want to welcome everyone to the Lawndale City Council regular meeting, Monday, May 18, 2000. I'm going to ask the city clerk, assistant city clerk rather, to give us the roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Osborne.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Mayor Cole-Miles.
Here. Okay, let's have the flag. Thank you for that. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Pat Kearney.
Are we all fixing the flag? Okay, if you are, here I go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember. Now let's hear from our Captain Allen. Let's give the public safety report, item C. Captain Allen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here tonight to present the public safety report for May 11th through May 18th. As always, I want to continue to thank the citizens of Lawndale who continue to do a great job following the rules and regulations set by the Los Angeles County Health Department. As we go forward and regulations begin to ease, it is important to note that we still need to continue practicing social distancing when out in public. Social distancing means maintaining at least 6 feet of physical distance from individuals who are not members of the same household, frequently washing hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, or using hand sanitizer that contains 60% alcohol, wearing a cloth face mask covering when in contact with others who do not live in the same household or living unit, and avoiding all physical interaction outside the household when sick with a fever or cough, except for medical care. These rules will continue to stay in place, but should begin to ease over the next few weeks. Information regarding social distancing, businesses, openings, etc., are constantly being evaluated, and more information will be forthcoming as we continue to move forward. During the past 2 weeks, calls for service have increased slightly from previous all-time lows. We have begun to see a slight increase in overall crime statistics, specifically burglary and theft, which continue to be down 33% and 1% respectively. We still continue to see an increase in grand theft automobiles and theft from vehicles. Most vehicles being stolen are older model Chevys and Hondas. This increase is occurring throughout the county and not just in the city of Lawndale. Due to the fact more people have their vehicles parked up during the day is one of the reasons why this is happening. The criminal element has more opportunities to steal vehicles from our streets. These thefts continue to come, however, from vehicles whose doors were unlocked and windows were down. As a reminder, please remember to lock your car, take your keys, and hide your belongings. This would prevent over 50% of the theft crimes occurring in our city. As always, if you see anyone suspicious in your neighborhood, please call the Sheriff's Department. And if you have information regarding crimes, you can report them anonymously at Crime Stoppers and receive a reward. Their number is 1-800-77-TIPS. Once again, that is 1-800-77-TIPS. In regards to the Best Western Hotel, your SAO teams have been assigned to a total location as the hotel has received all of its occupants. To date, we have had no events criminal in nature to report. Lastly, during conversation with the city manager, he mentioned in the past the city council held quarterly meetings with the station captain to address any law enforcement concerns. I'm hoping we can continue that practice in the near future. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Captain Allen. Are there any questions of the captain's report by the council? And thank you, Captain Allen, for that report, for the fine work your deputies do for the city of Lawndale.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Next item on our agenda is oral communications. Mr. Assistant City Clerk, have we received any oral communications? If so, will you please proceed?
Yes, Mayor, we have two public comments. I'll go ahead and read the first one. Randall Abram, Lawndale resident. The number of COVID-19 cases in Lawndale has tripled since April 15, 2020 to today's update, from 30 to 90 cases. In the last week, there have been 10 new cases. Since the outbreak, there have been 2 deaths in Lawndale due to the coronavirus. Based on population, Los Angeles County reporting is that Lawndale's rate is higher than most surrounding cities. The Los Angeles County website tracks clusters of cases in nursing homes, grocery stores, and other locations of where people congregate. Lawndale's cases do not show up in these settings. Is the city of Lawndale tracking where in the city these 90 cases have occurred? Has there been any contact tracing of Lawndale's cases to prevent the further spread of the pandemic? Testing is available free for county residents with a site nearby at the Galleria. Does the city receive any feedback as to the numbers of Lawndale residents tested? Although the specific names of those tested would be confidential, the results of how many Lawndale residents tested negative or positive will provide an important indication of how prevalent COVID-19 is currently in Lawndale. From those that tested positive, the process of contact tracing could be initiated to reduce the spread of this deadly pandemic. Is the city of Lawndale coordinating this process with the County of Los Angeles? Some cities have gone beyond state and county mandates. The city of Los Angeles, Carson, and Inglewood initiated strong masking requirements early on. Manhattan Beach issued a $1,000 citation for entering closed parks. Perhaps some of these might not be applicable in Lawndale, but has the city simply followed along the state and county, or taking additional actions to stop the spread of the pandemic? Okay, and our second public comment is from Pam London, Lawndale resident. Governor Gavin Newsom expressed interest in using tax money to purchase some of the hotels and turning them into permanent housing after COVID restrictions began to lift. Has anyone with the city of Lawndale found out if we are going to have more hotels sign agreements, whether or not the state plans to purchase any property in Lawndale to transform it into permanent housing going forward? What do any of you know, and how can you reassure residents you are on this? As I stated during the last meeting, this is not a not in my backyard issue. This is an impact issue. Lawndale is less than 2 square miles. Our law enforcement numbers on any given shift are minimal, to say the least. Lawndale cannot afford more officers, and we are too small of a city to be expected to. I'm still waiting for a response as to whether or not the state plans to purchase the Best Western. Are there more hotel signing agreements? Your avoidance to answer my questions will add to the rumor mill, causing more distrust in the city. Please respond. In an update on the Best Western, I see that there are 2 security guards 24 hours a day, and we have sheriff deputies at the Best Western too. Why, if there have not been any problems? We cannot afford for our deputies to be tied up needlessly at the Best Western instead of patrolling our streets and answering calls for criminal behavior. Is the city going to be reimbursed? Is the Best Western going to pay for this? Are residents being put at further risk because an officer is being taken out of service? If the city council is working on behalf of the residents of Lawndale, you owe every one of us an answer. Is the state planning to purchase the Best Western for a permanent homeless shelter? If not, what will become of these people when the state no longer paying for the Best Western rooms? Will they be turned out on our street, or will they be moved to another location? Are there more hotel signing agreements? If you do not have an answer to these questions, let us know. Either get the answer or tell us who to call. If we need to do your job, then maybe you need to rethink your position with the city and your positions on council. Other cities have fought and lost. Lawndale did not even fight. Other cities have residents that care. Residents have picketed. Lawndale did not. What and who will stop them from further destruction of this city? What else will they be able to get away with? What else are they going to shove down our throats? As that ends public comment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for those public comments, Mr. Assistant City Clerk. Let's have any response from the council. If anyone would like to provide any response, Councilmember Osborne. Let's start with Mr. Osborne.
I have none.
if you have anything. Okay.
No, I have not.
Councilmember Daniel. Thank you. Councilmember Daniel Reed.
No, I think we've responded on the Best Western as to the best we know, so we will operate from there. Thank you, everyone, for asking.
Thank you. Councilmember Pat Kearney.
I would defer this to our city manager. Maybe he has an update on the situation at the Best Western.
Okay. What will be your question on the Best Western? The update?
Mr. Mayor, yes, responding to Mr. Kearney's request, we do have an update later on during the meeting related to Project Room Key and the Best Western. So we can either wait until that point, or I can respond to some other specific questions.
Well, let's hold that till we get to that item. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hold that till we get to that item. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Councilmember Kearney?
No, that's it.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
I do have comments, but they will be regarding the Project Room Key. So when we get to the item, I can discuss my comments.
Okay, thank you, madam. My comments would be, yes, there are several corona testing sites. Of course, one in the Galleria, as mentioned by the resident. And there was also a site in the city of Hawthorne and in the area of Lenox for coronavirus testing. As to the where the persons who have tested positive, where they may reside, or what area they may reside, or any information on people that may have tested positive, that information is held confidential. And so there's no way for the city, from what I understand, to know who's tested and what the results of their test was, whether it be negative or positive. So there is no way to know that. We do, of course, know the overall numbers. At this point, it's about 90 cases. The city of Lawndale. Of course, when they say the city of Lawndale or any city, these are cities where the persons say that they are affiliated with it when they go to take their test. And it might also include incorporated areas that's right next to the city, but share the same zip code. So that's the best we can do on that end. The question was asked on whether or not the state will buy the hotel, in this case the Best Western. I have not heard the state looking to buy the Best Western hotel, so I have no information on the state looking to buy the Best Western hotel. Another question was asked by another other writer concerning agreement with other hotels. I'm not sure until I'm actually seeing the actual documentation. I am told that the county is looking to contract with another hotel in the city of Lawndale. I won't say which hotel that is at this point until I actually see something in writing, but I was told that they are looking to contract with another hotel in the city of Lawndale for the project on Room Key. And that would be my comments, my response, I should say, under public comment. So with that in the case, we will move our agenda to item F, which is the consent calendar. There's 3 items on the consent calendar. What is this pleasure of the body concerning the consent calendar? Item F.
Councilman Reed? Sorry, just checking to see if there are no questions. I will make a motion to accept.
This is Mayor Pro Tem Suarez. I do have a question. It's just a general question for our finance director. On the claims and demand, is there any incentive for us to pay via ACH versus check?
ACH would take another workload to manage it, but it could be done. Checks, of course, it's costly to produce things by check, to review it manually, to put it in, to print them. So it is something that we can look into if you want us to come back and give you an analysis of, do we think it's if we're able to do it, and is there any cost savings, we can do that.
I was just curious because I didn't know if there's a difference for both payments, and if one is more or less work, but I'm guessing it's just something to take a look at if we could.
Okay, no problem. We can.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor by Councilman Reed. Is there a second?
Mr. Councilman Kearney, I'll second it.
Okay, second by Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, will the council please vote on the consent calendar? Assistant City Clerk.
For the consent calendar, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Kearney,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is item number 4, an update on the use of the Best Western Hotel as a temporary homeless shelter. Let's have the staff report. City Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight to update you on the Project Room Key program, currently in its 4th week of operation. The Best Western Hotel, located at 15,000 Hawthorne Boulevard in the city of Lawndale, is one of the flagship properties chosen to be a participant in Governor Gavin Newsom's Project Room Key program, which was designed to house homeless residents and keep them safe during the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. The hotel first began intake of clients on April 23rd, and as of May 11th, the hotel is now operating at full capacity with all 97 of its available guest rooms currently occupied, with 104 of the South Bay's most vulnerable residents safely housed. The program is being funded by the state of California and managed by the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, with day-to-day operations in the hotel overseen by staff members from People Assisting the Homeless, or PATH. 3 meals a day are provided to the residents, and security and PATH staff members are at the hotel 24 hours a day to assist with keeping the guests of the hotel safe and respectful of the City of Lawndale's rules. Sheriff's deputies are also at the hotel several hours each day, as well as medical personnel to conduct temperature checks before each meal and on every person that enters the property. Twice daily visits to the hotel are performed by Municipal Services Department staff, and regular updates are provided to the City Manager and City Council regarding conditions at the hotel. To date, there have been no incidents or problems at the property since this operation began, and the streets of Lawndale have been noticed to be cleaner and free of homeless individuals. Outreach to homeless individuals in Lawndale is ongoing, and MSD staff continue to make contact with homeless residents and enter their information into the LA HOP system. In my last visit to the hotel, which was this afternoon, I was updated by a PATH supervisor that they are seeing some successful transitions of homeless clients into long-term housing. So far, 2 homeless residents have left the Best Western to be reunited with family members, and 2 homeless individuals were placed into long-term housing provided by a faith-based organization. Additional information regarding Project Room Key has been put on the City of Lawndale website, and a link has also been provided to the County of Los Angeles website. I can answer any questions at this time if there are any.
Okay, are there any questions of the City Manager's report?
Mayor, this is Councilman Kearney. I have an observation.
Yes, sir.
Michael, I don't know if you've noticed lately in Lawndale, but on Marine, all the major arteries in Lawndale, there are new homeless people that I've never seen before. Do you have an influx in that?
We do have information on that. In the first week of the hotel operation, we did see a number of people coming to City Hall. People were asking about the property, asking how they could get in. I gave them my information. I took theirs. We entered them into LA HOP system. Whether or not they went into the hotel, I don't know. I do receive calls daily from homeless residents that are not in Lawndale looking for services. I refer them to PATH and to appropriate agencies, and but we don't try to provide them into any of our properties. We're not encouraging that. I do know that in working with homeless in other cities, we would always talk up other cities to the homeless to try to get them to leave. I imagine there's a possibility that that is happening in our neighboring cities, but it's just speculative at this point.
All right, thank you.
Okay, are there any additional questions report?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is Mayor Pro Tem Flores, and my question is I recently attended a steering committee meeting for the South Bay Cities Council of Government, and there was mention that there were 2 other sites possibly located, one I believe in Manhattan Beach and the other in Redondo. I don't know if we've heard if any of those have signed contracts with their hotels.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem. I don't have the answer to that. I do attend those meetings as well. There was a lot of praise for the program from our neighboring cities, but whether or not they entered into contracts, I don't know at this point.
Have we heard whether or not? Sorry about that. Have we heard whether or not they started using the what was it called, the Motel 6? For I know they had a contract with Motel 6, and there's one in Torrance, and at least one in Inglewood. There was one that have they used those facilities. The reason why I ask is because if they have, hopefully that would provide less of an incentive to have an additional location in or next to Lawndale.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I heard that as well. That was brought up at the meeting that I attended for the South Bay COG, the Homeless Task Force. I know Torrance was opening a hotel. I believe it was a Motel 6, and I am aware that Inglewood also has a Motel 6. I'm not sure if those are the hotels that are going to be turning into Project Room Key operations. But I believe Torrance is one of the cities that is next in line.
Oh, okay. Because apparently, or allegedly, the state have entered a contract to use all of the Motel 6. So
I heard that as well. Exactly, Mr. Mayor. I do recall Governor Gavin Newsom putting on a press conference about a month ago saying that Motel 6 had agreed to turn all their properties into Project Room Key sites. If it's moved forward or not, I'm unaware.
Mr. Mayor, if I could weigh in on that briefly.
Yes, ma'am.
This is City Attorney Tiffany Israel. The agreement with Motel 6 is for the corporate-owned Motel 6s, not for the ones that are individually franchised. So we don't know yet which are which.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Mayor Robert, this is Councilman Kearney.
Yes, sir, Councilman.
Tiffany can answer this. The one in San Dimas that had picketers out in front of it that stopped them from signing an agreement. Is that independently owned or is that corporate? Do you know?
I do not know, but I believe the San Dimas Hotel is going forward.
Because last word I had, they stopped it.
So my office represents the city of San Dimas, and as of last week, that was going forward. Okay. I don't know that they have people moved in yet, but that was going forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Tiffany, while we're on that note, do you know of any cities that have challenged the county this project and have been successful?
There are several have tried to go either to challenge the hotels or motels or the county, and no one has been successful.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. Are there any other questions of the report?
This is Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted, because I did have a comment based off of our residents' inquiry, and my personal opinion is I do not think that, as the media has painted this is a NIMBY response, but rather, one of the things that we've brought up to the county is you have to look at the socioeconomic factors that impact our community specifically. So for them to not even involve us in the initial engagement, that was a big concern, and our other concern is why is Lawndale being targeted initially, and we're not seeing other hotels, popping up around the South Bay, and yet they're trying to, we're hearing that there's another one. So it just seems as though we're a target, and I have to say, I mean, it as much as they're saying, this is not political moves, I have to disagree. It just seems like they're kind of pouncing on our city, and we're going to be the one that's going to have to bear the consequences.
Yep. Well said.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that as well. And going back on the comment that one of the residents had asked about essentially I'm going to paraphrase her comment. The comment was basically on the lines of the exit plan. And this is the same question that not only the city of Lawndale posed. And by the way, we did put up a vigorous fight. I mean, we showed up at the mediation status conference when another city did not show up. And I'm not saying anything about that city, but when a federal judge asks you to attend a conference / mediation, I think it would be in the best interest of the city to actually participate in those proceedings, and we did that. I attended on behalf of the council. But essentially, her question was, what is the exit strategy? And that was one of the questions that we had, and I'm not sure which city it was, but there was another city on television last night, and the council member was basically was saying that what was the exit strategy or what have you that she was posing. And the answer is, if you ask me and I'm with the county, the answer that the county would give you is that each participant of Project Room Key will be placed in permanent or temporary housing, more than likely outside of the city once the program is over. Now, the question is whether or not you can rely on that. All we can do at this point is rely on their word that they're going to, the 97 occupants there are going to be placed in temporary shelters or permanent housing once the program is over. And in most cases, these temporary housing or permanent housing will be outside of the city of Lawndale. Obviously, if there's an opportunity for permanent housing in the city of Lawndale, then that would be the case. But they have assured us that they won't be simply left to their own devices and, open up the door and they join the ranks of the homeless population in the city of Lawndale. That's the promise or the guarantee that they have given the city. Who knows how close to keeping that promise will they actually get to once the program is over. But for now, that's all we can rely on. And we hope that will be the case.
And
Anyone
Mr.
else
Mayor,
have any-
Mr. Mayor, this is Kevin Chen, City Manager. And the exit strategy, that is a concern of all the cities that have a Project Room Key Hotel. And it's a lot of cities are putting pressure on the county to have that question answered. They've answered it, although, like you say, there's no guarantee that they'll be able to find this permanent housing for these homeless guests once the program is over. However, just speaking with LASA and PATH regarding the Best Western Hotel, they've mentioned to us that now that they have the hotel filled to capacity, they're changing their focus now from bringing homeless guests in to having them work with caseworkers, having caseworkers work with the homeless guests to now try to find the permanent shelter. So that is, as we understand it, is what's going on now. And as Michael mentioned, so far, 3 of the guests have already found permanent or temporary housing outside of the hotel. So, that is an indication that they are starting to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, for adding on to that. Are there any other discussions on the update of Project Room Keys?
Nope. This is Councilmember Reed.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Okay. So the motion has been made to receive and file the update of the use of Best Western by Reed. Is there a second on this motion?
This
Okay,
Councilman.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion has been made by Councilmember Reed and seconded by Pullen Miles to receive and file the update on the use of the Best Western Hotel as a temporary housing shelter through Project Room Key. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the Assistant City Clerk please give the roll call? Please call the vote.
For item number 4, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Kearney,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda is consideration of future modifications to the city's operations due to COVID-19 pandemic. Let's have the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is Kevin Chun, City Manager. At your last meeting on May 4th, the council considered what to do with two upcoming city events, the Memorial Day ceremony and the Health, Safety, and Pet Fair. And at that meeting, the council asked staff to come back at this meeting after the end of the last county safer at home order was set to expire on May 15th. Since that meeting on May 4th, the county did come out and amended their safer at home order on May 13th. That order did allow for some reopening of some businesses and recreational facilities. However, it does largely keep in place the shelter in place type orders, social distancing, and the prohibition of private and public gatherings of any size. So based on the amended order and the fact that it didn't change the allowance for gatherings, at this time, staff unfortunately is recommending to the City Council that you formally cancel the Memorial Day ceremony. However, in place of that, as we discussed at the last meeting, since it would be, since the city would like to honor those who have given their lives for our country as part of our nation's military, we would like to move forward with a virtual ceremony where we can put together a video production and then air that on Memorial Day, as well as have that rerun throughout the next weeks ahead. Again, to honor those who have fought and died for the freedoms of our country. So that is something that we are moving forward with now in terms of producing that virtual ceremony. The event is, again, the Health, Safety, and Pet Fair. And with that event, we are recommending that that event also be canceled for the same reasons. And also because of the fact that the SPCA, who we work with to provide the pet vaccinations, is not available for this event due to COVID-19 and the fact that they are working with a very small staff right now. So based on that, we ask that you formally cancel that event. However, we can look to an alternative event working with a local veterinarian where we can put on a vaccination clinic by appointment only, where we would still be able to provide an opportunity for pet vaccinations, but comply with the social distancing orders from the county and keep the public and our employees safe. So that is something that we can work on as an alternative. And with that, I will end my presentation and answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you for that report. Let's take them item by item. Let's discuss the councilization of the Memorial Day ceremony first. Let's hear some thoughts on that. In no particular order, anyone have any thoughts on that?
Jim, I think we need to do it. I think it's one of those things where you just have to bite the bullet and do it.
Say that first part again for me, Jim.
I said this is one of those things that we hate to do, but I think we just got to bite the bullet and do it this time. and try that modified approach where Tom did the interviews and so forth, and pray that we can get back to some sort of normalcy for next year.
Yes. Okay. I agree as well. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Okay. So it sounds like we agree that we should come to the Memorial Day ceremony and do the video presentation. Okay. So that would be the order without any objections. Okay. What about the health, safety, and pet fair? Any thoughts on that?
Jim, again, I think it's kind of the same situation, even though it is a little later. I have one question, though, and I think I already know the answer, but it's a perfect situation. There's news today of this potential vaccine. I don't see it happening in just a matter of weeks, but if there was a better situation for that future date, I think I already know the answer, but it's too late at this point to make some sort of a plan that if everything worked out in a better circumstance that we could still hold something. Kevin, is that? I think you're right. It's probably just too late at this point to pick another startup date, or is there a possibility?
Well, we could certainly look at that. I guess it just depends when that would occur, and also it depends what the county's orders are at that time. If they do allow for public gatherings or public events, then that's something I suppose we could look into. But again, the other thing is the availability of the SPCA. As I understand it, the pet vaccination, that's the largest draw for this event, and that's the reason why we get so many people for this event. So without having them, it may not make for a successful event like in previous years. So it just depends on timing.
Yeah, that's the way I was looking at it. I just wanted to hear it again. Yeah, I think it's just another case of something we have to forego for this year, just like Memorial Day, and hope and pray that we can do it next year.
Once again, I agree. Are there any other discussion on that item? Any other thoughts? Okay. That being the case, it seems like we have consensus to also cancel the health, safety, and pet fair as well. So if that's been the case, that would be the order. Anything else, city manager, on just those two items? Okay, without any objection, that would be the order that we cancel both Memorial Day ceremony as well as the health and safety pet fair.
This is Mayor Pro Tem Flores. I'll make the motion.
Okay, so the motion is made by Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
I'll second it.
Was that Kearney or was that who was that?
This is Kearney.
Who seconded the motion?
Pat can do it if he wants to. I said I seconded it. We talked at the same time. Okay, so we'll put down Osborne as a second. We'll put down Osborne as a second. So the motion been made by Suarez and seconded by Osborne that we cancel both the Memorial Day ceremony and the health and safety and pet fair. Let's have a vote. Assistant City Clerk. On item number 5, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne. Yes. Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Councilmember Kearney.
Yes.
Mayor Paul Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks, sir. Next item number 6 is reconsider the administrative pay leave status for part-time employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's have a staff report. Mr. City Manager available?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, is Raylette not on the call? Raylette will
96.
provide that presentation.
Okay. Is Raylette available? I don't know. Matthew, is Raylette on the line?
I'm looking. It looks like she's there, but not, her phone is off. Let me go poke my head out. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something while we wait for Rayla?
No.
Yes.
You want to hear what I have to say?
Okay.
I actually just
Yes,
confirmed with the city attorney for San Dimas that I was incorrect, that they did, and Motel 6 did end up backing out. They didn't have a signed agreement, and so the Motel 6 did back out. Councilmember Kearney was correct.
That's a first for me.
Now,
Hardly.
can you confirm whether that's a franchise or corporate?
Let me see if I can find out more on that. I will report back. I can find that out. Oh, well, he said Motel 6 corporate didn't want negative publicity among the residents, so it must have been corporate.
Okay, it's corporate. Might have been corporate, yeah. Well, I guess Best Western don't care about having a negative reputation.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, I was surprised when they said Motel 6 was going to do it in the first place. Right. Okay, so while he's getting the technology together for item 6, let's see, why don't we'll give him a few seconds. If not, we'll table this and come back to this item. So we can keep the agenda moving. Okay, sound like we might be in.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. I'm on. Somehow
Yes,
I was dropped.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Go ahead with the report.
Okay. Tonight, city staff is seeking direction on how to proceed with the paid administrative leave status of our non-working part-time employees assigned to closed or discontinued programs and services. In response to the various safer at home orders issued by the state and county officials, the city has supported these orders by declaring a local emergency and making operational changes to include the closure of city facilities to the public, canceling and or suspending city events and recreational activities, and provided paid administrative leave to employees to ensure that they were not financially affected by the operational changes. As a result, departments have started phasing in return to work protocols for its full-time employees. However, we're now confronted with the lack of work opportunities for all of our 66 active part-time employees. Providing consistent paid leave to part-time employees has resulted in higher payroll costs, department overruns, and increased in exposure to long-term pension liability, which would require the city to enroll certain part-time employees into CalPERS due to the increased number of hours that we're paying. For the last 8 weeks, the city has paid its part-time employees between $16,000 to $22,000 per pay period for non-work hours, for a total of $75,000. We have an additional 3 more pay periods to go through the end of this fiscal year. The COVID-19 global pandemic, the safer at home shelter-in-place orders continue to be extended, and it's uncertain as to when the city will be able to reinstate its programs and services. The city cannot continue to provide paid leave benefits with employees indefinitely without having some significant impacts to city finances. In efforts to protect the city's financial future, staff has discussed options for addressing this issue and is now recommending that we reconsider the paid administrative leave. As such, staff is asking direction from council to reconsider the paid administrative leave benefits for its part-time employees and direct staff to take a look and overview of the current operations, determine which part-time employees can continue, and to initiate the layoff process in compliance with city policy and applicable memorandum of understandings. Staff is available to answer any questions you may have on this item.
Okay. Are there any questions of this report? Item number 6.
Well, I have one question, Robert.
Yes, sir.
For Relette, is it too soon to say if worse comes to worst and we have to take people off, or which we hate to do, but we can understand the circumstance? Is there a number, or is it way just too soon to tell on something like that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Councilmember Osborne.
I said, do you have a number
question
of affected individuals? I mean, or is it too soon to tell?
Oh yes. Basically, we can continue to employ probably about 14 of the 66. The main department that is impacted the most by this is our community service department, and that's a total of 56 part-time employees.
We're having no events, you know.
Right. The parks are closed. We don't have any events. So we're limited into what special projects we could actually have them come in and perform during this period of time.
Okay, so all that, you said all but 14 is what you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
This is Mayor.
You did? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
This is Mayor Pro Tem Suarez. This is a question for our finance director. I know we had a general forecast or rough forecast that we'd be short. I think it was $1 million for the next fiscal year. Is that, I'm assuming that, is that taking into account these part-time employees, or would the number increase?
The number includes those being paid throughout the year. So actually the number as of right now, because we're working on next year's budget, we've made some adjustments, but including the part-timers in our budget, the general fund will be short $1,125,000 approximately for next year.
Does that include the, I mean, because now we're running into the pension liability situation. So is that another added cost that would, or is that all still including?
But we don't have anything as far as the increase right now. I know we're talking about that they're not PERS annuitants. The most of them are not receiving that. They are not getting pension, the part-timers.
Right.
That we're getting into an issue where some of them will become it once they get over a certain amount of hours. And I believe Raylette may have some numbers on that. I'm sorry, Raylette, for throwing under the bus. But no, I believe a few people are getting to where they're meeting the maximum amount, and once they become PERS annuitants, they will continue to be it from there on out.
Right.
Yes, Marla is correct. We have some classifications that are exempt from PERS, but we have some classifications that are not. And right now, we have about 5 people that are getting close to reaching 1,000 hours. And if we don't curtail that, they would potentially have to be enrolled into PERS.
Same as it is for every city. I mean,
yes.
You run the risk if you exceed 1,000 hours and become permanent, and then you have that payment responsibility. You can't do it.
Well, let me ask you. So once they become permanent annuities, which means they enroll into PERS, so what does that do for our bottom line? Does that mean, obviously we would be contributing to PERS, so you would be contributing in perpetuity as long as they're employed, or even after they're employed, or how does that work?
Correct.
Yes, so as long as once they become a member, they're always a member, and the city will be responsible for paying its portion towards the benefit.
Okay. Got it. And so, do we have any recommendations, or is that for to close this $1 million? I think I heard you say there was a shortfall of $1 million. If we don't do anything from this point, or we've already reached that point where there's $1 million gap?
This is next fiscal year, so we're talking fiscal year 2021, and we have had a budget subcommittee meeting. Today we had one. We have discussed options, and we are working on those to close the budget shortfall for next fiscal year.
These are recommendations for next year, right?
Correct. Next fiscal year is where we have the shortfall. We're trying to balance our budget for next year.
There you go.
And we say next fiscal year, is this a fiscal year which we will be adopting in July?
Correct. It has to be adopted by July 1st, so it's coming up next month. We'll have to finalize it.
Yeah. So these are recommendations for what you're working on now.
What Raylette is talking about is to discontinue paying the administrative leave of the time staff. What I'm talking about is the budget for next fiscal year and the shortfalls, where we may have to take action now so that we don't have the problem for the entire fiscal year next year. So it's starting on take actions now so that as of July 1, we are in a position that we can balance our budget.
Exactly understand.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Bernie?
Yes, Councilman.
Council member, we and I were on the subcommittee, and I know it's a terrible thing, but we have plans in the future to bring that number from 66 down to 7, maybe 14. And I would suggest that the people we have now, the stay-at-home order, use their sick leave, vacation time. After that, 2 weeks unpaid, and after that, go on unemployment, because it's a big downfall. We're paying a lot of money for these individuals to stay at home, and some don't feel like they have to come back. They're still afraid, but I found out that some of them have a second job already.
Yeah.
So they're double dipping, and I don't, at the city expense, this is my city, this is all of our cities. Let's take care of the problem now. So I would recommend that we tell them to take their sick leave if they have any, vacation time, 2 weeks unpaid vacation, and then go on unemployment. Because we still have what, almost a month and a half to go before the new budget.
Yeah.
Right. So if we were to discontinue the paid administrative leave, all of our current employees that are currently off with no work would no longer receive paid leave, and we would encourage them to use their available leave banks that they have currently on the books. If they don't have any leave, then they would be unpaid. And then we would look to see which employees we can continue to maintain within the city operations, and the ones that we can't, we would start the layoff process.
Yep.
This is Councilman Kearney again. With the community service department, with the rec leaders, the subcommittee, I recommended that we do it by seniority, because we have a couple of individuals that have been there over 20, 25 years, and we keep them on board. But Robert, rec leaders are a revolving door over there. They come in, they leave. They come in, they leave.
Yeah,
so we do that by seniority basis.
Oh, I think they would anyway, right?
Yeah. Well,
I would agree. With that.
Yeah.
I agree with your recommendations, Councilman Pat Kearney.
Okay.
It would be by seniority anyway, though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. I agree.
Okay, so like we have
Reed, I agree.
3 people. Okay, that's 4.
And this is Mayor Pro Tem Flores. Yeah, it's a very difficult situation to be put in. But at the same time, if we don't do something now, we could have less choices and, have to make even tougher decisions if we don't get ahead of it. So, my job has, just me personally, there's a lot of layoffs in my job, pay cuts all around. And, it's unfortunate, but, hopefully this gets over with soon and we get things back to normal. But for now, we have to think about the city as a whole.
We're not the only city. It's virtually all cities in the state are having to make the same tough choices.
Yes, but we are one of the few cities that, for the past 2 months, have kept our
Correct.
our part-timers on payroll. So because we wanted to show that we are in this together and provide that relief for our employees, our part-timers. But at some point, the budget can't continue to sustain that type of expenditures.
Exactly. And
so
when we enacted that, we did not know exactly where we were headed at that point. So I think we did the right thing. But now we have another thing.
Yes. So it sounds like we have reached consensus, but I'm going to ask for a motion so it will be official. Adopting these recommendations.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes, sir.
I will make a motion to go along with staff's recommendation to discontinue the paid administrative leave, review the current allocation of part-time staff members, and determine which can still be employed, and initiate a layoff process for those employees not working within compliance of city personnel rules and regulations under our MOU.
Mr. Councilman Kirk, I will second it.
Okay, that would be the motion, and seconded by Reed and seconded by Kearney. Are there any discussions on the motion? Seeing none, would the Assistant City Clerk please take the vote?
For item number 6, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne.
Sadly, yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Regrettably, yes.
Councilmember Kearney.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Miles.
Unfortunately, yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Item 8 is the city manager's report. Mr. City Manager, have anything to report?
Yes, mic's off.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I had myself on mute.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Just a very brief report. Again, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the city's had to make modifications to its operations, including closing City Hall and our facilities to the public, as well as we've made minor modifications to our hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, with decisions being made at the state and county level to begin reopening our society, we've also taken steps to do that as well. And as of today, we've reverted back to our original hours of operation, which again is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we are also looking at measures that we can take when the day comes to fully reopen our facilities to the public, to have measures in place for the safety of the public and our employees. So those are some things that we're working on now, and we will be ready again once that date and time comes. So with that, that's all I have for tonight, and I turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. City Manager, for that report. Item number 7 is items from the Mayor and the City Council. Any meetings or anything you want to share? Let's start with Councilmember Osborne.
Thank you, Robert, but I have nothing to share.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilmember Daniel Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did attend the virtual Contract Cities meeting for officer installation. Our outgoing president, Sandra Armenta, and incoming Lindsay Horvath. It was a good virtual presentation, well put together, and that is all I have to report. I wish everyone a happy Memorial Day and looking forward to our virtual presentation.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Pat Kearney.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Kevin and I attended by telecommunications, the Lobby Trust and Oversight Committee last Wednesday. I also attended telecommunications with Lindsay Horvath being sworn in. I only stayed for a minute, so I had to leave. Also attended the first, I don't know what you call it, Robert, where Robert, Dan, Mike Estes, and myself were there, and we were given care packages to the needy in Lawndale. And also, I want to give a heads up that, I don't know, Jim, you might know her, Faye George. She passed away last Tuesday at the age of 85. And with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague.
There you go. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
I just attended last week the steering committee meeting for the South Bay Cities Council of Government, and I did bring up a point earlier from what I thought was interesting regarding Project Room Key, but that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, I just have a couple of items I want to go over. One, I did attend the City Selection Committee virtual meeting. This was the first time that we had a meeting teleconference because until the pandemic, we weren't allowed to have meetings per teleconference. I say that because this is one of the harder meetings to get a quorum. The last time I attended a meeting, we didn't get a quorum to the third attempt. And you're talking about going downtown or Pasadena after work, only enough to have a quorum, and that kind of, disheartening. And so we was able to get a quorum this time because it was online or on teleconference, and we're trying to get the state legislature to allow that body to have at least some type of modified quorum system because it's hard to get a quorum. The biggest item they had on the agenda was an appointment to a couple of bodies, one of which was the library district. And unfortunately on that one, for some reason they couldn't hear me. I heard everything, but for some reason, so I had to keep communicating to the chair through text. So I don't know, their WebEx presentation didn't go as smoothly as they would have liked it to have went, but I had to get it done anyway. I also attended the sanitation district regular meeting. That once again was through Zoom. So those would be the meetings that I've attended. I have two items I want to bring up tonight. One is to visit the street sweeping issue. Mr. City Manager, I'm looking at whether or not we should at least revisit cleaning the streets on the major corridors. I'm looking at these major corridors, and they're really in disarray. And when we first decided not to issue tickets, of course, the thought was that there was not enough parking for people in their residential streets or what have you. I didn't really think about the major streets where technically people, like say for instance Hawthorne Boulevard, would not be parking on Hawthorne Boulevard. Well, shouldn't be parking on Hawthorne Boulevard, overnight or what have you. Anyway. So I don't know if it's time that we should revisit that or not, particularly on Prairie, Hawthorne, maybe even Inglewood, although I don't really see Inglewood Avenue as being as, for some reason, that's pretty clean.
Manhattan Marine.
Yes, sir. Who was that?
That was Jim. I said Manhattan Marine. Thanks for bringing this up, Robert. I meant to as well. You reminded me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So I think we should revisit that, Mr. City Manager, if you can take a look at that and see which would be the best way to address those major corridors?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be glad to do that and report back to you at your next meeting. We can take a look at that and bring back both the pros and cons. Since the parking enforcement was suspended for street sweeping, we knew that the streets obviously would not be swept regularly as well as thoroughly. And so I've been working with the Public Works Department to try to have them go out and do spot cleaning where they do see trash accumulating. And they have tried to do that. At times I think the streets are cleaner than others. Other times they're dirtier than others. So I think that would be an opportunity where we could probably change our approach a little bit and just sweep the major corridors, particularly on Prairie. As I understand it, on street sweeping day, the practice has been for residents that usually park on the west side of the street to park on the east side of the street. So that probably won't be as problematic for them as for some other smaller residential streets. So it's definitely something we can take a look at and report back on.
Okay, thank you for that. And also, speaking of that, I'm encouraging also the homeowners to sweep in front of their property. I walk the streets pretty often, and so do some other council members. And there's a lot of homes that have streets that have just debris and stuff just sitting in front of their homes. When we said that we were in this all together, that's what we meant. And so to me, it doesn't seem like it's that much of a hardship for people to get out and sweep in front of their home, not in front of anyone else's home, but in front of their home. There's streets that I walk down every day, and the same trash is just compiled there when someone can easily sweep that up. And there's other streets where I see neighbors sweeping the trash up or what have you, and maintaining the streets or what have you, and it works wonderful. So I'm just encouraging the homeowners, if we're going to keep this up in terms of not ticketing for street cleaning, that they take 5 minutes out of their day and sweep in front of their house when they see there's trash or debris there. And I think we also need to take a look at some of these lots. There's a lot of commercial properties that for some reason the property owners decided that because we're in a pandemic, you don't need to maintain the weeds, weeds. You don't need to maintain the place. You go down Hawthorne Boulevard and you walk down Hawthorne Boulevard. One is a former car lot, and the weeds are just out of control. And why they don't maintain those is beyond me. So I think we need to take a look at those and make sure that we maintain the cleanliness of this city, even in a pandemic, as much as we can. Because there's no reason. Lawn service is still, from what I understand, people are still doing lawns. They're still doing landscaping and things of that nature. So why these people decide they're not maintaining the property is really beyond me. So I think we need to.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is Councilman Reed.
Yes, sir.
Yep, agree. And along our block over here, we have some folks that are actually moving their car when the street sweeper comes around and then pulling back over. So, it's a matter of each block. Let's take care of our community and keep things pretty. I appreciate it.
That's wonderful.
Okay,
and the last thing. Yes, sir.
I agree with you with the street sweeping. I know I have to clean up in front of my house almost every day. People are just pigs. But I think we might have a problem if you just do the major thoroughfares and not the city streets themselves, because people are going to raise all kinds of, headaches. Well, how come I get a ticket, but my neighbor on 153rd don't get a ticket? I think we have to do it uniformly, the whole city. And here's my plan option. I think we should start at June 1st, back getting tickets. But instead of tickets, you can either pay the ticket, or you can come out with a broom and a dustpan and clean up around your car and have it signed out by one of our street sweeping control officers. and I'm sign off.
Mhm.
Because I know it. I walk to the city hall every day, and there's the same locations, like you said, have the same junk there, and the residents not going to pick it up. They said, you're supposed to be an all together, but we're not. I said, well, I didn't throw it there. I said, it takes a broom and a dustpan. It takes 5 minutes to pick it up. No, I didn't put it there. I'm not picking it up. So I think we should implement this June 1st and give them the option of either getting a ticket or have parking enforcement come by, you clean up around your car, and they'll sign off the ticket. And maybe that'll help.
That's pretty intriguing idea. Let's have them to take a look at that and
Okay.
the city manager see how we can employ that.
Okay.
I like the encouraging of having people clean up, no question.
Yeah.
Only problem
Yeah,
is in the
absolutely.
residential, you still do have a lot of people who are home because they're out of work or whatever. So you're still going to have a problem. That's why the increased parking's all around there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people still at home. There's a lot of people still at home. Now, what happens is people are able to get out for a few minutes to do their essentials or whatever they deem necessary, but they're not out for 8 hours, 10 hours, because they're not at work. They're working remotely. So you can come home and find out that there is no parking spot for you because you left your parking spot, which is one of the reasons why, I walk the city pretty often, but I leave my car on the street because now that I always have problems with people blocking my driveway. If I move my car, the problem I have is someone will be parked there, blocking my driveway, and they're not just parked there for the night. They're parked there for now 3 and 4 days because of the pandemic or what have you, and so that's a problem. So you're right. A lot of people are still at home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I just have one last item. Just one last item. So, according to some, the state of, well, not just the state of California, but probably the United States, is moving into either a recession or even a depression, depending on who you ask. And I remember the last time we had a recession and an economic downturn, a lot of the cities was really, it really put a lot of the cities in bad financial conditions where some of the cities are still trying to recover from the economic downturn. I think this is a time where we can try to get ahead as much as possible of that anticipated economic downturn that is definitely on its way, if not here already. With that being said, I'm going to propose that the formation of a business revitalization subcommittee. This committee will consist of the mayor and one member of the city council, along with the city staff. Now, the committee will function like a working group to explore ways to increase revenues to the city. And the subcommittee will engage the business community on issues such as business retention and business attraction. The subcommittee will solicit the participation of local business owners, the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, the South Bay Workforce Investment Board, schools of business at local universities, including USC, Loyola Marymount University, Cal State Dominguez Hills, and other colleges, for their suggestions and their input. Now, the goal of the committee is to issue a report to the City Council for their consideration on adopting economic development tools and strategies that will place the City of Lawndale in a better economic position during the next economic downturn and beyond. And so the whole idea would be that this would be a working group of members of the city staff and 2 council members, and working with the business community and academics to basically provide, if you will, a blueprint of tools and strategies that we can deliberate on that would be best suited for our city, so that we'll be in a better position once the recession hit, even beyond on that. So I'm going to ask that item be placed on a future agenda for consideration.
Hey, Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hey, Robert. This is Mayor Pro Tem Suarez. I'm very much interested, so I'd like to throw my hat into that. If you do that, I'd like to throw on that subcommittee.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Anyone else have any suggestions on that?
Since it's Mayor, this is Tiffany Israel. Since it's not on the agenda, we should really bring it back before a third person weighs in.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Okay.
As long as there's consensus to bring it back, we'll bring it back.
That's why you have it there. That's why we have it there.
And Mr. Mayor, this is
Without
Stephen we will have this on your June 1st agenda.
June 1st. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay, let's see. I think that's it for me. I was kind of lengthy tonight, but one was left over from last week. I forgot. All righty, so that will be it for me. We do have one other item on the agenda, and that is a closed session to confer with legal counsel concerning anticipated litigation. I'm going to ask the city attorney to give us the closed session provisions. What time?
The City Council will meet in closed session on one item pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4 to allow the City Council to consider whether to initiate litigation in one case against the Best Western Plus South Bay Hotel and the County of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to stand in recess for closed session. Okay, we have returned from closed session. I'm going to ask the city attorney to give a report of the closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session on one item as agendized as item J8 pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. The City Council was updated. No reportable action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the report. Okay, it's adjournment time. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. Monday, June the 1st of 2020. It is now 8:30 and this meeting is adjourned.
Good night,
Thank you,
John Boy.
everyone.
Night, John Boy.
Good night, everyone.